Is Miss North Carolina USA 2025 ineligible? Let's talk about it. Recently, there has been a lot of uncertainty in the Miss USA and the Miss Universe organizations. And with that uncertainty has come a lot of questions in regards to a contestant's eligibility and contestant contracts. I recently shared an episode where people were also alleging that the current Miss Alaska USA is ineligible because she does not live in the state that she represents, the state that she won. To her defense, the Miss Alaska USA director, Troy, made a public statement sharing that the national organization of Miss USA now allows state directors to, at their discretion, decide if a contestant has strong enough ties to a particular state in order to make them eligible to compete. In one of my episodes, I discussed this. I personally feel that if we do not have black and white rules of eligibility, then things get really messy and there's a lot of legal liability at stake. I feel like things should be very clear and not left up to the discretion of a state director. But now let's talk about Miss North Carolina USA. So immediately after crowning, I started getting flooded with messages and DMs talking about how Miss North Carolina USA state hopped. So if you watch my other episodes, you know that I've talked about state hopping. State hopping is not new, and I feel like as long as a contestant is meeting the rules of eligibility, then she is free to move, live, and compete wherever she's currently living, working, or going to school. That's good and that's fine. So I didn't understand in the moment why so many people were getting upset about North Carolina USA winning until I started getting even more details about this matter. And I think that the main issue here is not so much that she state hopped, it's that she's actually violated the Miss USA contract, as it states that you can only currently compete in 2 states per competition season, and Miss North Carolina USA was her 3rd state of the 2025 season, and there is clear proof of that online. After the pageant concluded, first runner-up Presley Ross obtained counsel from Heather Lee. Now, you may remember Heather Lee during the rigging allegations of Miss USA 2022. Heather became an attorney, so Heather practices in the state of Florida. As far as I know, I'm not sure if she's barred in other states, but I do know she practices in Florida. And she was very outspoken during the 2022 rigging allegations, which MUO did a private investigation and said that they found no evidence of rigging during the 2022 national pageant. Now, although they didn't find evidence of rigging at the time when Crystal Stewart, the then president of Miss USA, was directing the pageant, the rigging allegations did, however, stir up a lot of conversations about the Miss USA organization, and through those conversations, we heard about sexual harassment allegations against Max, which is Crystal Stewart's husband, and it was found that there was some sexual harassment happening between Max and certain contestants, and so for that reason, Crystal Stewart could no longer continue being the director because of the way that the internal investigation was handled by her when she was the president of Miss USA. That is where you may have heard of Heather from. So Heather is back and she is here to represent Presley, and she released a public statement on Instagram, and this public statement is for Ablaze Productions. Ablaze Productions produces Miss North Carolina and Miss South Carolina pageants as well as the teen divisions. Now, it doesn't appear like a suit has been filed, but this is what Heather stated on her social media. I am going to show you these screenshots and then you can pause to read all of it. I'm just going to go over some of the key points here. First, she states that she represents Presley Ross, the first runner-up of Miss North Carolina USA. Now she says, "It is clear that the pageant was administered in a manner that violated your own eligibility rules, deprived my client of her rightful title, and exposed the organization to significant legal liability. This letter hereby constitutes a final demand for corrective action prior to litigation, places all recipients on formal litigation hold, and provides notice of my client's intent to pursue all available remedies if the demands below are not satisfied by September 11th, 2025, 5 p.m. EST. September 11th is coming up. Our investigation has revealed evidence that demonstrates Miss Ross was the rightful winner of the 2025 Miss North Carolina USA competition. Multiple judges have confirmed they scored Miss Ross as the winner, and even members of your own board acknowledged privately that she should have been crowned. Despite this, your organization intervened to override the judging process and deliberately deny her the title. In short, the outcome was manipulated in violation of both the letter and spirit of the competition's rules. This constitutes more than mere subjective judgment inherent in pageantry. It is an orchestrated manipulation and direct violation of your own eligibility rules and competition procedures. Such conduct constitutes fraud, breach of contract, and actionable misconduct. Allegedly, the first runner-up was disqualified from winning the title due to misconduct during the pageant. Now, we'll get back to that in a little bit, but let's read the next page of this letter, which really, for me, I personally feel like this is probably their strongest argument here. The contestant crowned as Miss North Carolina USA 2025 competed in 3 separate state pageants this calendar year. There is undeniable evidence that she competed in Florida, New Jersey, and now North Carolina. Your own rules, drafted and enforced by your organization, expressly limits contestants to a maximum of 2 state competitions per year. The rule is mandatory and unequivocal. In my other episode about Alaska, I showed some screenshots of the current Miss USA state title holder contracts, and you can see a clause in there stating that you can only compete in 2 state pageants per competition season. Now, I also brought up the fact that there's a lot in limbo right now, and my question was, do we even know if these state title holder contracts are valid and can they be enforced? Because we have a situation where some state directors, which Layla has now appointed, apparently have access to these state title holder contracts and are holding these competitions. But we have other state directors who are literally in limbo. We have directors who have not yet resigned from their positions, but they refuse to organize a state pageant because Layla has not sent out the franchisee agreements and not sent out the state title holder contracts that those directors can use for their new potential title holders. So yes, we do see that there is this clause about only 2 state pageants per season, but are these contracts even valid has been my question this entire time. So we do have some proof I can show you already, in addition to so many witnesses that have stated that Lourdes, the now current Miss North Carolina USA, did in fact compete in Florida and New Jersey for the 2025 competition. And we can also see pictures right here from a pageant fan page sharing the contestant images for 2025. And you can see Lourdes here is a contestant listed during the Florida state pageant. And then also you can see her in the New Jersey lineup of contestants as well. The next page of this post talks about legal theories and potential claims. So things that they could or may potentially sue for. We have breach of contract, declaratory and injunctive relief, breach of the covenant of good faith and fair dealing, fraudulent and or negligent misrepresentation, defamation and business disparagement, unjust enrichment, promissory estoppel. The next page is talking about how the Miss USA contracts have a clause that you cannot sue the Miss USA organization. So what Heather is saying here is that that clause doesn't actually protect this organization from being sued just because they said you can't sue us. Next page is about public accountability, and then here we have the demand for immediate relief. This is what Heather and Presley are demanding. Number 1, to rescind the 2025 Miss North Carolina USA title from the improperly crowned contestant, immediate reassignment of the North Carolina USA title to Presley Ross, including delivery of the crown sash, title, packet, media opportunities, and all contractual benefits associated with the title, an issue of public statement of correction and apology affirming Miss Ross's rightful placement, provide written confirmation of compliance by the stated deadline. So all this stuff. That is what Heather Lee posted while representing Presley Ross. Now here is what Ablaze Productions posted after that came out, and this was on the Ablaze Productions Instagram page. It says, at Ablaze Productions, we hold ourselves and our contestants to the highest standards of fairness, integrity, and accountability. During our recent North Carolina state pageant, one contestant engaged in misconduct that directly violated the established rules. As a result, she was the only contestant whose score was reduced due to these actions. Two things to note here. I've also received other messages, which I won't share publicly just yet, but allegedly Presley was not the only contestant that was disqualified from the competition. Apparently, there were other contestants who were also communicated to that they were disqualified as well. Then it says that Presley's was the only one whose score was reduced due to these actions, which people are claiming is a contradiction because the North Carolina USA system allegedly uses a circle scoring system and not a points system. So in a circle scoring system, you cannot actually deduct points. But they're saying that points were deducted in a way that points couldn't actually be deducted, so people are saying that there is a contradiction there. They go on to say, we deeply value our sponsors, contestants, parents, current queens, and partners who continue to support our mission and who have reached out with questions. While we never want to be placed in a position where disciplinary actions such as a points deduction, again, they're talking about points deduction, but you can't do a points deduction with a circle system, is what people are saying, or potential disqualification is required. In this instance, we were left with no other choice. Then they say we caution against rushing to judgment based on a single version of events. The character and reputation of all parties involved speak for themselves. Our commitment remains to provide a fair, transparent, and empowering experience for every contestant who steps onto our stage. Thank you for your continued trust in Ablaze Productions. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to our office directly. And then there's a contact information there. When this was initially posted, the comments were still turned on and people were asking all of these different questions in regards to what happened. Here are screenshots of those comments. Somebody made an Instagram story post today stating that Ablaze Productions, although they've stated all of this in this post and in their caption, that they actually turned off the comments. My guess is that they don't want people reading these comments and they don't want more questions to be asked. I feel like there's two main issues here in this case. So we're talking about potential contestant misconduct that would disqualify her, which in a way is a little bit discretionary. My question though, if I were Presley and really anybody else that allegedly was disqualified, would be, what exactly was this misconduct during pageant weekend, or I don't know when it would have occurred, but what is the misconduct? And I would also want to see an example of this type of misconduct in our contestant contracts. In my opinion, if you're going to accuse somebody of misconduct, that misconduct has to be clear. Just like if you were working for any other normal job with an HR department, if you were fired, they would have to give you a reason for why you were fired. Or else you could pursue legal action if they didn't clearly state, hey, this is why we had to let you go. Employers and employees have rights, just like in this case, where organizers and then contestants should also have fair rights as well when it comes to these contracts. But if I were a contestant and I was disqualified, I would really want to know specifically and in writing, what is this alleged misconduct that occurred? All of the misconduct stuff aside, I think the stronger case here would be that the current Miss North Carolina USA title holder has competed in 3 state pageants during a single state pageant season, and that should immediately have disqualified her. Now here's the thing, are directors supposed to do their due diligence when it comes to contestant eligibility? Yes, but sometimes it's difficult, and if a contestant isn't throwing up any red flags for her own eligibility, like there are things that are gonna slip under the radar. I don't feel like there was anything nefarious in terms of allowing Lourdes to compete in the competition. Like, I don't think there was any conspiracy there. I don't feel like there was. I think it was just something that was overlooked, frankly. But the moment that you find out that your contestant violated the rules of eligibility, that is your moment to shine and to correct it and to stand up for the integrity of the organization and say, whoa, oh my gosh, we have definitive proof that our new title holder, that she is not eligible to be our title holder this year according to our own contract, and so we're going to make that right, and we are going to appoint our first runner-up, our second runner-up, our third runner-up, or whatever. Because if they're actually saying that other ladies were truly disqualified for misconduct, I don't know what the misconduct was, but you know, maybe our first runner-up still isn't eligible, and then you have to kind of go down the line and figure all that stuff out. But first and foremost, I do really feel like they need to take corrective action right here and say, hey, she is technically ineligible this year. You know what? So sorry to everyone that showed up to this pageant. So sorry to our sponsors, to our contestants. This was something that was overlooked. We're going to immediately correct it. And of course, Lourdes, you are welcome to come and compete during our next season, because there's nothing that says that she can't come back and compete. Now, I know that you guys are all waiting for my other episode about the new president of the Miss USA organization, Tom Brodeur. And this is where things, I think, get a little bit more interesting. Heather made this post about Ablaze Productions. But my curiosity is that although Ablaze Productions produced the North Carolina USA pageant, does the Miss USA organization or Miss Universe organization also have any legal liability in this issue as well? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but that would be my question. And the other thing is, this could be an opportunity for Tom to step in and basically override whatever is happening in North Carolina and say, hey, your state title holder is ineligible and we need to correct this for everybody. And we're going to stand by integrity now moving forward in this organization. That would be such a smart move, in my opinion, from Tom moving forward. What a way to get your era started, by stepping in and saying, hey, I see something that happened while I wasn't here, and I actually want to make sure that I correct that for everybody moving forward. And I want to show this as a message and a signal of good faith for future contestants, title holders, and sponsors, that we care about integrity now in this organization. We care about it once again. And I feel like that would be such a strong move, but who knows what's going to happen? It doesn't look like Ablaze Productions is going to be meeting any of the demands by September 11th, according to this statement that was released. I don't feel like they are. So what's going to happen? And then we have Miss USA. Well, we don't have a date or anything. I was going to say, then we have Miss USA approaching. Do we? I don't know. Anyways, thank you for watching this episode. Stay tuned for the next one, where we're talking about the new president of Miss USA.